Today on All Caps. From the backlash sparked by Bardem's remarks about Israel at the Oscars to Prime Minister Netanyahu's viral barista moment, we break down what's really happening in Israel right now, separating headlines from reality, debunking misinformation about shelter access, and examining the global fight against Iranian terror targeting Israel. Plus, the digital battlefield, who's behind the online smear campaigns against Israel, and how everyday people are flipping even the most bitter of lemons into lemonade. Plus, joining us at the table is former IDF International Spokesperson Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Conricus. He'll speak on the war of words, advocacy, and life in service. All that and more. Let's get started.
Welcome to All Caps, a weekly show to discuss Israeli perspective, but in a cool manner. Ladies, have you been to sleep lately?
Is coffee sleep?
Between sirens and this heavy weight of the war?
Yeah,
Yes,
we have babies.
We have babies.
Wow.
This is not the sirens. We wake up for the babies.
I don't know how you do it.
Changing
Wow.
diapers
I don't even know
and
how I do it.
everything.
I don't know how we do it. I swear to God, I don't know how we do it.
Yeah, we are super.
Perhaps we can start with what caught us our eyes this week. India.
Well, what caught my eye this week, it was just Nowruz, which is the Persian New Year. Now, this is a 3,000-year-old holiday based in Zoroastrianism. It's an ancient religion, not based in Islam, this holiday. And what is amazing about it to me is that it shows that the Persian people have existed long before this regime, and they will exist long after. Even Prime Minister Netanyahu put out a video wishing the Persian people a happy Nowruz, a happy New Year, and wishing them a year of freedom. And you know, how cool would it be that this New Year would be their year of freedom?
To the brave people of Iran, I wish you, as I do every year, a happy holiday season beginning with the Festival of Lights. Nowruz Piruz, Payande Iran.
I love when he's speaking in Persian.
Yeah,
Right?
I'm Iranian born. My parents made Aliyah from Iran in the 50s from Zionistic reasons. And my mother still said to me how beautiful Iran is, what lavish landscape they have, and exquisite carpets in the walls, in the houses, and with a very, very long nostalgia. And I think that, God willing, when there will be peace between Israel and Iran,
You can go and visit.
I will go. I will be the first one to go and visit.
It's really interesting to see how young Iranians online talk about their religious identity.
Right.
I feel like the extreme regime kind of made them be more atheist.
Yeah.
A lot of them don't talk about themselves as Muslims, even though they grew up as Muslims.
Of course. Yeah, they dislike this regime.
It really affected their religious identity. Like, it really made them more
Think
atheist.
about their roots. Like Zoroastrianism is this ancient religion that comes from the region of Persia, again, 3,000 years old.
And they were conquered by Islam, but probably 700 BC or so.
Right.
And, but it's interesting to see how, like, for a second, when I was talking to people about young Iranians, I was like, so none of them are Muslims, right? And he was saying, of course, they all are. They all had to be.
Titi, what about you?
So this week I saw a TikTok video that I want you first to saw it, and then we're going to talk about it.
Some people have been claiming online that only white people are allowed in Israeli bomb shelters. Is that true?
That's not true at all. As you can see, I'm here.
So what does it feel like when you hear that some people are making those kinds of claims?
I think it's kind of outlandish because Israel's very diverse, and when there's no alarm, there's no stopping anyone from entering the shelter.
So basically, people all over the internet says that black people are not allowed to go into the shelters in Israel.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah,
Can you
this
not
is
go?
crazy. I cannot.
You cannot go.
I don't know. If something happened right now, I cannot go in to the shelter with you guys. So,
Titi, I feel you so much.
But I have to say something. It's so crazy to me because when the rockets comes and the sirens go off, we don't really look your IDs or your skin colors, you know, because I think that the rocket don't discriminate. So we are all like running for our lives. We have like 60 seconds to go into the shelter, and nobody is standing there and checking, oh, you are black, you cannot go inside to the shelter. Come on, guys. Like,
first of all, there is no discrimination in Israel whatsoever.
It's against
at
the
all.
law.
No,
It's against
doesn't
the law.
exist.
it's against the law, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Rocket that falls kills anyone.
The
There's no discrimination.
Yeah.
the propaganda has
Yeah.
no limits, huh?
Yeah.
No limits.
You know, I'm part Indian, and there's these images going around of Indians sleeping at an underground subway station.
I saw it.
Because they were denied shelter for safety. I've not only been denied shelter, but I'm invited into shelters.
Yeah.
It's illegal under the
course.
Civil Defense Law, Article 15. Nitzana, you're a lawyer. Maybe you can explain what is the punishment for denying someone shelter.
Of course, yeah. It's a criminal offense, especially when it's run by the government. And obviously, there is no such a thing. It's a false, fake news, as usual.
But the picture is for the people that they don't have shelters in their buildings, so they need to run into the subway and sleep there.
Also
But there is people that's sleeping in the subway because they don't have shelters in their
Sure.
buildings.
Of course.
It's like for everyone.
But
Yeah,
it's not because they were denied shelter.
No, of course
yeah.
not.
Yeah.
They are not
Sarai?
black. So.
The Oscars? Wow, that really pissed me off. The Oscars, I mean, I didn't watch it, obviously. Nobody watches it. But I watched some clips from it. Can we watch the clip with Javier Bardem?
There's a great opportunity to say things like no to war, not to this illegal war that are creating so many deaths. This is the same badge that I used in year 2003, 23 years ago, with the illegal Iraq war.
Wow. Not to war that has created so many deaths. Think about what he's saying. There's been maybe 1,500 people who tragically died in Iran during the war, but not to war on the Islamic regime that murdered 40,000 people just in January because 1,000 people died during the war. Think about this. I mean, obviously, it makes no sense. If you talk about humans, about bodies, it makes no sense. The math doesn't work, okay? But the question is, why is he saying it? Why is he not mentioning the 40,000 people who died in January while on interview, but mentioning only the poor people who died, which is 1,500? He's a smart person. He's an intelligent person. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And I was so curious to know why, and I kind of looked him up.
And you have the answer?
No, I looked him up. I don't have the answer because it's ridiculous, but I looked him up. His family is working with the Communist Party in Spain, and communism works with dictatorships, and all communist countries are backing the IRG, China, Russia, North Korea. But it's just astonishing to me that a Hollywood actor that would seem to have some sort of love towards the West is creating this propaganda.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't see anyone say
easy
free
to-
Iran at the Oscars.
No, but it's
Nobody talk
amazing.
about it.
It's amazing to me. How do you do that? How do you not talk about innocent people and not mention, like, I don't understand.
This is the generated propaganda that we're facing, which leads me to my topic, which everybody remember, the video of Netanyahu and the barista.
Yeah, how could you not?
Let's watch for a second.
תודה. מה שאלת אותי?
ראש הממשלה אומרים ברשת שאתה בכלל מת?
אני מת על קפה, אתה יודע מה? אני מת על העם שלי. אתה רוצה לספור את מספר אצבעות?
אתה יכול להראות לנו?
פה. פה. אני אומר לכולכם, גם אתם תמשיכו. תמשיכו להישמע להוראות פיקוד העורף, כל הזמן, להישמע להוראות פיקוד העורף, ותודה לך על הקפה, הוא מצוין. אני לא יודע לגבי הקלוריות, זה נראה לי מסוכן מאוד.
Would you imagine that the Prime Minister had to create a video to prove that he's not dead, that he has 5 fingers, to defeat these false allegations from the Iranian regime led by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard? So what do? They just use AI to show that Netanyahu is really dead, and all these press conferences that he is attending are fake. And here the analysis of his body movements and his face and all that stuff. And I'm telling you, we can laugh at it, as we did while watching this video, but it's a very dangerous path that we're going. The Iranians cannot win the war conventionally, so they are winning it over the narrative. And they're using AI, and they are very well funded, and it's high scale, and they're using people and distributing it on Instagram and TikTok, and young people who don't or do understand or don't care just spread it to the extent that Netanyahu's video has reached over 70 million hits in order to rebuke this. So this is a war that we have to conduct, and this is exactly the war that Jonathan Conricus, who will join us later on in the show, will tell us more deeply about it.
And this new emerging star who we only saw for 1 millisecond, but I think what we know is the lesson is that we can't agree on religion or politics, but what we can agree on is culture, food, coffee, and a beautiful smile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She become like an internet sensation.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. Sometimes the little things that we don't even notice could be such great hasbara for Israel.
Yeah.
Great video, whoever wrote this.
Thank you for this perspective. Let's move on to the next segment. We're moving on to our main topic, the war with Iran. Israel is conducting a war for 2 weeks now, and it seems like Tehran can send bombs and sanctions and pressure and threats. But I think there is one solution which Iran cannot stand. This is the economic pressure. This is follow the money. Now, sanctions that you impose on the Iranian people, they suffer. But if you go after the Iranian regime's assets, and they have a ton of them, they have bank accounts, they have buildings all over the world, that can hurt them so much. And it's a strategy that works. For the past 25 years, terror victims are suing the Iranian regime, going after their assets. They get judgment from the federal courts in the United States, and then they go and seize their assets like tank oils that belong to the Iranian regime, ships, boats, bank accounts, obviously. I can give you an example of a building in New York called 655th Avenue. It's owned by the Iranian government.
Wow.
Terror victims put a lien on the building. The building is being sold after a long litigation of the Iranian regime, and the process will go to the terror victims.
You know, Nitzana, I always tell my friends, I know this lawyer who sues terrorists, and she sued Iran and the regime, and they think you're so cool. I mean, this is amazing.
And it's actually a system that works. When Iran wanted to sign an agreement with Boeing to buy 80 aircraft for $17 billion, we went to the court, we put a lien on this deal, and we said that we are entitled to the Iranian money or to the aircraft, and the State Department stood on our side and let the case go forward. So if you really want to win over the Iranian regime, strip Iran from its immunity, strip it from their assets, and let the terror victims confiscate it. If you want to defeat Iran without conquering Tehran, that's the way to go.
But is it going to be much easier now, after the war, to seize their assets? Do you think it's going to be easier for you to
It will
win?
be, yeah. If Iran, first of all, we expect that Iran will come and pay the judgments if there is a peace agreement, because one of the components must say that Iran has to pay for these victims, for the suffering, for the atrocity they committed. This is one thing. And obviously, if it changed, it will be much easier.
And you have the way to know where they have assets and how much?
Well, yeah, we have some information inside. Yeah, we're working with some secret agencies in Israel and worldwide. They have a lot of it. But look at Mujtaba Khamenei. A report of the Wall Street Journal just mentioned that they had billions of dollars in assets and hotels in Frankfurt, in
London,
Dubai, in Doha.
I read one article that they have a huge apartment in London, like in the most expensive area. It's crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I feel like it's insane that nowadays that what the Iranian regime is doing, they still have assets. I mean, what country would allow it now?
Yeah, they're avoiding the sanctions. China.
China and Russia, okay, but like London, Britain.
Like, how do they explain that? How does England explain that?
Yeah, they turn a blind eye. They go by false companies, by fake companies, and they just don't investigate.
Yeah.
So we have the key. This is actually an optimistic point. We have the key. The West has the key to fight it, but they just have to do it.
What do you think about the Iranian war? Where is it heading?
Obviously, I think it's a justified war. I mean, we don't have to mention that, but I just really feel like Trump is not explaining the war enough to the American people. I just feel like there's so much he can say. I just looked back at Obama in 2014 when he was going after ISIS. He laid down so much information and facts. All the facts are there. Yeah. The Iranian regime is chanting death to America for decades, developing nuclear weapon, tried to assassinate a U.S. president while in office, try to influence the elections. I mean, what else do you want?
Young Americans, first of all, I'm coming from the United States, and I'm 28 years old. A lot of young Americans, they don't remember the time of the Iranian Revolution. My parents told me they vividly remember the American hostages that they took. Every day on TV, it was 100 days of our hostages, 101. They said it was very vivid for them and a very big deal, but our generation has forgotten that this happened.
But you can see on social media what's going on in Iran, specifically for the women of Iran.
But on your feed, our feed, we see this. But actually, a lot of people are seeing a totally different feed, the other side, that Israel is committing the atrocities. That is their feed.
I'm talking about Americans. America First movement. This is America First. The Iran war is America First. They try to assassinate a U.S. president. What's more America First than that?
It's not enough, yeah. He does mention October 7th. He does mention the atrocity that Iran committed, but he doesn't speak about himself, and he doesn't speak, as you mentioned, enough to give the excuse.
I think a lot of Americans are asking, this is not our war, because he don't explain this well. But in my opinion, the Iranian regime are like calling America the big Satan, the great Satan, and Israel the small Satan. And they are funding terrorist group around the Middle East and also global. And I think like when you are asking why we're going to this war, we need to remember the Iranian women who are risking their life for their basic freedom every day. It's not just Israel's war or Israel's problem. It's everybody's problem, because I think today it's Israel in the front line, and tomorrow it couldn't be any of them, like Americans, Europeans. So when we fight this war, we fight for the Americans and for the Europeans and for the Iranian people.
100%, 100%. You know what? And that perhaps answers your question also. When America fights this war, it sends a message for its credibility towards its allies, because China and Russia are watching.
Yeah.
They're watching what America is doing when its best ally in the Middle East is almost getting not survival anymore. And I'm telling you, if America will betray Israel at this point, it will be an inch away from China to take over Taiwan.
Yeah,
true. That will be it. So America is fighting for its credibility and for integrity and for its alliance with other allies.
And that's a great point, Nitzana. And also, Iran kind of did us a favor, and I hate to call it a favor, but by attacking 12 regional neighbors and threatening Ukraine, they've proved to us that they cannot be trusted with nuclear weapons, and quite literally, no pun intended, they've gone ballistic.
Yeah.
The fact that European leaders are not joining in, I mean, you guys need this war more than America. There is this huge terror network all across Europe plotting to assassinate leaders, and they're like sitting there on the fence saying, this is not our war. What are you talking about? Wake up. You need this more than America.
Iran is a very, very dangerous regime. It must be stopped, and thank God for Israel and United States for conducting this marvelous war, and let's pray for speedy defeat against Iran.
Amen.
Amen.
That's a critical conversation, understanding what's happening on the front lines, both in the security and the public opinion. We're moving to our guest segment. Joining us today is a man who was the voice of the IDF to the world for years, Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Conricus. Jonathan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Nitzana. A pleasure to be here. And shalom to all of you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Jonathan, in all of this war, I want to know, what is the most outrageous lie you've heard about Israel, and what makes that lie so effective and dangerous in shaping public opinion?
Wow, that's a tough question, India, because there have been many, countless lies written, said, and thrown at Israel and at the Jewish people, at the Prime Minister, at spokespeople, at myself. That's a tough question to answer, but I'll say that I hardly ever get really surprised by what they come up with in terms of the how obscene and sometimes how lazy the lies are. Like, I've been on debates where it's been that I've debated people who otherwise are usually intelligent people, but who have this kind of short circuit in their brain where if something is wrong in the world, there's a quick short circuit and it leads to Israel. Israel is to blame for whatever the reason is, whether it's global warming or if it's a war somewhere in the Middle East or the suffering of women in Kurdistan or whatever it is. There are lots of people, some of them who claim to be intelligent and thoughtful people, who will knowingly peddle those lies and fan the flames of anti-Semitism and really do things that are, I think, reckless and dangerous.
And yet, if somebody would have write a movie about this war, would you find a screenwriter that will be unbelievable writing these events?
You know, I tweeted on October 7, the night of October 7, I tweeted to my then, at the time, 400 followers on X. There's a few more today.
You grew.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I tweeted then that remember how this started. It started with an unprovoked attack by an Iranian proxy against Israel.
Yeah.
It will end with an Israeli victory. For the first period, we will have a rare window of sympathy from the world. That will fade, and afterwards we will be blamed for our success. And I said that, I wrote that on October 7. I assessed that we would have a short window of sympathy. And, you know, we remember, we saw CNN coverage that was favorable. For the first time, we saw Israeli stories humanized. We saw Israelis and Israel represented as human beings with feelings. We saw Israeli women, children, civilians who were at the front of what was happening. We didn't see military people in green fatigues, and we didn't see tanks and aircraft, but we saw a human story of Israel, which was compelling, moving, of suffering. And it wasn't the usual portrayal of Israel. And even CNN and BBC and many of the networks that never do this, they always maintain the human perspective for the Palestinian side of the narrative.
Because for the first time, we've had so many casualties, and it was so tragic.
Yes,
we don't want to win in that in the tragedy.
No,
contest.
we don't. But I mean, it was the first time. I mean, we've had terror attacks and suicide bombings and lots of civilians killed.
One of
this
the biggest
was probably
massacres.
so big that they just had to. And for a few weeks, they actually told the Israeli story through the lens of Israelis, and that was refreshing. But as we anticipated, that changed, and we got into the all too familiar rhythm of blaming Israel for whatever was happening in Gaza.
How do you explain the obsession about blaming Israel? Not just during the war with Hamas, obviously, when there were so many casualties in Gaza. In general, what you were saying at the beginning, why is there such an obsession with that country?
That's an age-long question. I've been asked it thousands of times, and I'm sorry to say that I don't have an answer that I think is good enough. I'll say a few things that I believe. One is that anti-Semitism is the ultimate shapeshifter. It is the hatred that is the most dynamic, the most flexible. It changes shape and it takes new form, new angles, but the core of it is still very much the same, and that is blame the Jews for whatever is wrong.
Okay, so explain that. Explain that. So explain that.
It shifted from...
it's gone for many years. There is like...
No, of course.
Against the Jews. And I just want to ask you what we can do to change this narrative in the media.
I think we should do more, you know. I think we're all part of, you know, a small group of Israelis who try to represent the Jewish people living in Israel and try to speak on behalf of Israel to the world. I'm a big fan of people, civilians doing it, and even better, women, because I think that's the best image that Israel should have. I'm a white guy with the military background, and I think the voice that should be heard and seen in the world, speaking on behalf of Israel, we would benefit from having a different voice, from having a different styling of it. But what I would say is this. Israel faces challenges that I think are unique to Israel. We face military challenges, which we all know about and speak about, and we feel them every day. But I think that among the nations of the world, I cannot find a single country that is under such relentless pressure and scrutiny like Israel. Now, I think our problem is that we just don't want to acknowledge that this is the situation, and we, Israel, we're not allocating the resources and attention, money, talent, and infrastructure in order to fight it. And I think that we should be doing more, not because we need to explain ourselves because we are wrong. I think we're right. I think we are moral. I think we're right. I think we are very justified in almost everything that we do, and the things that we do wrong, we usually make up for the mistakes. But where I think we really get it wrong is not recognizing the importance of information warfare, of hearts and minds in the world.
To explain ourselves in the media.
To make our case, to make our case for people to understand. Like, we see the background around us. That's a miracle. That's modern Israel, built on sand dunes in less than 120 years. There was nothing but sand behind us before. Jews came back to their homeland, and we are a thriving, beautiful democracy. And yet that story isn't told well enough, and I think the state of Israel should tell it better, allocate more resources, more talent, more money, more social media, more use of intel in order to get information out about what our enemies are doing. Whenever we do it, it pays off, but I think we don't do it enough.
Jonathan, you served as in the United Nations as a military diplomat, and I want to show you something.
I'd like him to answer my question. Why is that considered a trope? Okay. Why is it considered a trope to be concerned about American soldiers during these endless, nonsensical wars? Why is that considered a trope?
How many times have you gone to Arlington and paid your respect to American heroes?
I'm not talking to you, Conricus, you terrorist piece of crap. I'm talking to the general.
Okay,
tell me why that's
please keep the ad hominem down.
I want to hang on. American soldiers.
Can we go back to the
answer the question?
I love that.
Oh my God! Yes,
wow,
you were so cool with that.
Excuse her language.
How did you stay so calm?
What Americans fundamentally don't understand about the Middle East?
I think she's a very poor example of someone very shallow, filled with hate, and someone who believes that it would do her good personally to slander, attack, scream abuses, and be very offensive. And I get it. I mean, that type of behavior, it gets clicks. Piers Morgan's show thrives on exactly that type of outrage. And I've seen this clip, played thousands of times.
But she looks possessed. She doesn't look like she's doing it strategically. It looks like she's possessed by this obsession, by this syndrome against the Jewish people.
So, I mean, to your question, Itzan, I think what people fundamentally don't understand is the issue of who we are and where we're from, and the fact that we are not going anywhere. I think many Westerners, especially young Americans and people in coastal areas of the U.S., they have this. They've adapted this mindset whereby we are foreigners in this land, and Arabs are the natives, and whereby if they only fight us enough, we will somehow go away, like the French left Algeria, like the English left their colonies, India, etc., and many other examples of colonial history. I think when you boil it down, really, it comes to understanding that we are the natives here. We are the indigenous population. It just so happened that the Zionist movement was probably the most successful and unique story of an indigenous population actually fulfilling their indigenous claims, unlike most others. Most others, if you travel to the UK or Canada, Australia, even in the US, you'll find these plaques on buildings, usually government buildings, where it says the government, let's say, of Canada. The government of Canada recognizes the original custodians of this land, the tribe of a name of a tribe, and we pay respect to their forefathers, and we thank them for safeguarding the country, which is their way of saying, we, white people, came here, we took control, and now we're kind of shedding our guilt by claiming that we have this nice plaque here. I think that there are many people around the world, Qatar included, but anti-Semites in Europe and other people who would want and thought that we would end up as a plaque like this, that there would eventually be a plaque in Arabic in government buildings in Jerusalem and in Tel Aviv saying, we recognize the biblical heritage of the Jews who used to live here, but now we rule. And I think that trajectory is something that a lot of people are struggling to come to terms with and to face and be okay with. They don't want that to be the situation.
They hate us because we succeed.
Also.
Always.
Yes.
Like, I'm always trying to figure it out. Like, what is that syndrome? I divide anti-Semitism to groups. I don't call it all anti-Semitism when I talk to my friends and colleagues. I say there's a jihadist anti-Semitism that was preached from the 1920s. And there is the Nazi anti-Semitism that is more about race and less about land or religion. And now there's a right-wing extremist anti-Semitism that is, it's more a classical anti-Semitism, I guess, the jealousy, and it all combined into this soup of anti-Semitism.
Yeah, there's something called the horseshoe theory, where you have extremes on the right, extremes on the left. They have different views on society, politics, security, and economy, but they converge when it comes to finding a common evil, a common source for everything that they feel is wrong in the world, and that will be focused on the Jews. And some of the names that you mentioned and the ideologies that you mentioned are part of that.
But maybe we need different tactics to attack different type of anti-Semitism.
Well, I think the best thing that we should be focusing on is to continue to outwork, outfight, outthink, and outproduce our enemies. That, I think, is really the biggest and most important part, to live in Israel, for young people to get married, to have children, to be healthy, to be proud, to educate our children, to love our heritage, to be thankful that we are born in a free, vibrant society where women have rights, minorities have rights, where it's a rule of law society. We shouldn't take that for granted. I tell my kids all the time, we travel a lot and we've gone to lots of places around the world where they have different legal systems and where people have different rights. And I tell them, imagine if I was born in another place with not as much liberty, structure, rule of law, and where minorities weren't protected, we would have had a totally different life. And in Israel, we're blessed with having that. So I think the answer is yes, I very much believe in keep attacking. A friend of mine, whom I'm sure you'll have on, Colonel Richard Kemp, that's his slogan of his military unit. Keep attacking and keep, your enemies on the back foot. I think that's a good thing that we should be doing. But I think the ultimate answer is what we see behind us and many more things. It is to build and create.
Jonathan, you were on reserves during this war. But on top of that, you were doing a dozen or more interviews a day. Does sleep exist in your life?
Sleep does, and it's an important part. And with social media, you know this very well. You can amplify work that you do in traditional media, and you could really reach so many more people by good use of social media. I think, generally speaking, I'm new to that game or that aspect. Some people do it much better than I do, represented here. But I would say that you cannot, I think, if you try to engage in high-level journalism without sleeping enough and having your feet solidly grounded, then you will eventually make mistakes. Yeah, you will make mistakes, and the mistakes are costly. So I actually prioritized working out and sleep in order to be focused when
you heard it from Jonathan himself. Get your sleep, get your rest.
I prioritize sleeping too, Jonathan. But I can't.
Yeah, we can.
We can't. We have babies. We don't sleep.
Jonathan, thank you for those insights. You're giving us a lot to think about. Now we turn to another front in the war, the one that's happening on our smartphones.
There are other players here. I didn't realize it was going to be a joint operation with a country that believes in Amalek. Whoever made that decision should be in jail.
Oh, wow.
I can't.
I don't think whoever ordered this war should be in jail. I think Tucker Carlson is going to jail.
And
you know what he said?
He will.
You know what he said? He said that he was referred by the CIA charges for talking to Iranian revolutionary guards before the war, giving them tips how Israel and United States will conduct. Now, this is a violation. He thinks that this is a violation of FARA, being an unregistered foreign agent. But I think this is talking to an agent of a terror state, of an enemy state in a time of a war. And this is much more than what he thinks. I wouldn't go that far, but I don't mind. But, you know, and what's funny is that in this interview, he says, I can speak to anyone. No, you can't speak to anyone when you're talking to an enemy state. And I suggest...
But what's the violation? Like, what? Like, if that was your case,
this is aiding and abetting terrorism. And I suggest him to go and read Holder versus Humanitarian Law Project. The Supreme Court of the United States ruled that there is no freedom of speech when it comes to aiding and abetting terrorism.
So he's going to jail.
What is he facing?
Maybe. Very soon.
What do you think he's facing? What do you think could happen? What are the...
They will have to investigate. Listen, he spoke to Iranian Revolutionary Guards when the internet was down in Iran, remember? So who did he speak to and how did he speak to? Obviously, he got information and tipped them off. So this is violation.
But as a legal expert, what do you think he's facing? Like, what are the options?
Well, he will have to come and explain what did he say to the Iranian Revolutionary Guards, what tip they gave them. And in my humble opinion, the mere fact that he was in contact with an enemy state in a time of a war is enough to charges against him.
Charge him with what? Like
maybe jail. Maybe jail.
I really want to know.
He's going to jail for 20 years.
Every time an anti-Semite is going overboard, I'm having fun. And usually they are. It's like almost like a sickness. They go crazy. I'm like... What are you talking about?
But this is even beyond anti-Semitism.
That the CIA is on him and he's going to investigation.
Yeah,
I saw someone saying that.
Yeah, he admitted it. He made a video saying.
He said he admitted it. He admitted it himself.
What's worse than this is anti-Semitism, his track record of anti-Semitism, but he's putting real lives at risk. This is war. This is not, likes on social media. This is war.
And the Tucker that we know years ago would have never done that. He was a patriot. He was the biggest patriot. What happened to Tucker Carlson? This is the $1 billion question, and I have no idea. Okay, let's say
money happened to him.
No, okay, let's say
money
he's paid.
Happened to him.
He's paid. Okay, but throwing away 30 years of work, of credibility for a bunch of money, he has a lot of money. He doesn't need money.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Something beyond money happened to make irrational choices like that.
I have a theory, and he admitted this himself. I am not inventing conspiracies. He put out a video a while back that he was being attacked by demons, literal demons, in his sleep. He said he woke up next to his wife with scratches and blood on his bed, which makes me think, is this demonic oppression?
I guess so.
No,
I guess so.
So what did the demon did to him?
I don't know. They said they attacked him in his sleep. These are his words. He was scratched. There was physical blood on his bed.
So how can anyone trust anything he says? I don't understand.
You can look up the video. This is not the only one who claim of violation of law. Let's see the next one.
No American son or daughter should die for Israel. Flat out. No American son or daughter should die for Israel. Goyim, stand down. Go home. You have something much more important to do. There's a messianic mission right now. Go to Iran.
I love how she says Goyim. She says Goyim because she thinks us Jews call other people who are not Jewish Goyim as if it's an offense. But Goy is a nation. The God said to Abraham, you're going to be a big nation, a big Goyim. Goyim is not you're not offending someone.
Insult.
It's not an insult. But she uses that's the great trick of anti-Semitism, taking one small thing that you read and putting it in another context.
You know, she mentions, and she said, she was asking Trigger, the audience, what the chief of command, meaning President Trump, is protecting, what constitutional right it's protecting by conducting this war. That's her question. And she mentions freedom of speech. No, he doesn't protect freedom of speech. He just actually violates freedom of speech. And is it freedom of religion? Of course not. He violates freedom of religion. So I want to tell her, dear Candace Owens, the President of the United States has an obligation, not a right, has an obligation to protect United States. And this is inherently clause in the Constitution. You don't have to read it online. But the fact that the United States cannot stand without a president that safeguards the safety of its citizens, there is no need for the Constitution. And in fact, President Lincoln, the best president ever of the United States, took a lot of actions violating human rights without asking the congressional vote for it because he went to protect the United States. So take Iran. If Iran is saying again and again that its goal is to destroy United States, and it calls it the big Satan, and it develops capabilities, missiles, ballistic missiles, and nuclear facilities that will reach not only American assets in the United States, but also in the United States itself. So what else the United States president has to do? Should he wait until Iran attacks the United States, or he has the obligation, the self-defense doctrine?
Well, a lot of people are asking, well, how do we know that Iran's about to have a nuclear weapon? Well, they told us, the Iranian negotiators bragged to Steve Witkoff saying, we have enough enriched uranium to build 11 nuclear bombs.
Exactly. It's like, what else do you need? But I don't know what happened to her either. She also lost her mind completely. She is making these false allegations that you don't even... Sometimes I'm thinking, like, who's her audience? Who are the people? What are the 6-year-olds?
A lot of people.
No, but it's insane, the stuff she says. She takes stuff. She's talking about medieval times, things you can't check, really.
Well, this is anti-Semitism. But let's lift our spirits as we head towards the finish line. Israeli resilience. Watch how Israelis are spending their time in shelters during alerts.
Honestly, it feels like COVID all over again, but with rockets. Exactly. We're all stuck at home, and we have all this time to make this great content for social media.
Exactly. I love how Israelis
I love how he put effort every time and come with different costumes. And like one time he's like a wicked, and then the other time he's like a Spider-Man. Funny.
Yeah, it's better than, if you want to make a joke. So some people go out and filming the missiles and the interception and just exploding. This is very, very dangerous. So instead of just having fun outside, they have fun inside. A good way to spend.
Israeli resilience right there, yeah.
Let's watch another one. I have a little dog. His name is Louis. He's a Shih Tzu.
Yeah, I know Louis.
You know Louis, right? And every time there is an alert, he's the first one to run down to the shelter.
So my dog also, Tony, he was like the first one who ran into the shelter.
No.
And last night and the last few days also, he doesn't want to go into the shelter, so I need to start to shout at him, Tony, come on here, come on. Everybody is waiting for him to come into the shelter.
He's becoming an older man.
He doesn't want to come.
I don't know if people know outside of Israel, but older men have a thing with going to the shelter. They're like, no,
they don't want. I'm not going.
Fine. If the rocket wants to fight me, it will fight me.
Yeah.
It's so true.
Yeah, so he's becoming an older man.
Yeah.
The best friend of the human being.
And what happens when during the war you have to go to work? Let's see. Yeah, that's our life.
Yeah. So whatever happened, we are here to stay, and we take everything in the right proportion. There is no Israeli that doesn't want this war to go on until the victory.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's true.
Ladies, thank you for the discussion today. And to all of you at home, thank you for joining us. Stay safe, and we'll see you next week on All Caps. Woo! Goodbye.